Yo, hello everyone, I am Jack the Jack of Knaves, and welcome back to Stonehearth. So you might be thinking to yourself, Jack, once again this is not mud, nor is this new mud. You're right, this is fresh mud. We had to create a new save again, the reason this time being that when I tried to load saves, it would load in the world, but then no one would move. It would just be perfectly still. And then I was messing with this world, and I actually played a little bit in here, rebuilding the town, and I actually got a bunch of buildings in, and then I hit a weird issue where, well, I don't know what the issue is. Basically what would happen is, if I use the menu too much, like the UI, it would just stop working. The game would grind itself to a halt, and it's actually kind of doing it again now. Thankfully, it's still working. I pulled up a really old save. Like I mentioned, this building was done. I had a whole bunch of pathways. Basically, I had us at a point that we were at before. If you're wondering, here's what that building looks like. I had this the building, and then like a house right there. And a bunch of pathways, and it looked really nice. But no more. Alas, it is gone. So what we're going to do here instead, it appears as though that the game is sort of hitting some issues, especially once we start going towards late game stuff. It seems like we can play the game now fine. In the early stages of the game, we can play it and it'll run, we'll run into some issues, some hiccups, but it won't be horrible. But it's looking like at this point, once you start getting into late game, and it might just be my computer can't handle it. Hello? Okay, that's fine. But we're just running into a ton of issues. So what we're going to do for today's episode, I'm going to attempt to show off all the features that are left in the game, and then we will call it a day. So the first thing we want to do, we're going to find someone that we can upgrade into a mason. And actually, just for the sake of it, do we have it built? Okay, we have the mason tool. So let's look at our workers here. You have a mind of 4, 1, 4, 3. Okay, so you will be our mason. We'll build you. Ba-ba-da-ba. And we looked at the mason a little bit before in episode 2, but I really want to give more of an in-depth view of what the mason can do. So we're going to take the mason. For now, we're just going to plop down the mason bench wherever. At this point, it actually doesn't really matter. While we do that, let's get some hearthlings to... Whoops. It doesn't matter. There. Build a giant room for me. Give me tons of stone. Okay, so what we're going to do here... Our apprentice is asleep. But we're going to build the mason's bench. I'm going to show you some features of the mason. From the mason, we can also build 2 more tools, the blacksmith and the cook, which are the ones that are important to us. We can also upgrade our trapper into, and we can actually do that now, we can take our trapper, and you can become a shepherd. So we can show off that a little bit too. So if our trapper will run out and become a shepherd. Hey! And what the shepherd allows us to do is we have our 4th zone that we can designate. We have an animal pasture. What we're going to do, so we can just set up a zone. Let's just set it up over here. Maybe like a 12 by 12. There we go. What the shepherd will do, the shepherd will run around and he'll go find sheep. And he'll come bring the sheep and he'll bring them here. And then he can harvest the sheep for wool, or we can harvest them for meat. It's not really a whole ton to the shepherd, and right now the usefulness of the shepherd actually seems kind of low. I think, hopefully, in the future, the shepherd will be tweaked a little bit to make it so that he has a little bit more worth to him. Because right now I actually prefer having the trapper out for all the furs that we get. Okay, so we have the mason. Mason's gonna have to build a bunch of stuff for us. We kind of saw this before. The mason's catalog is actually really low at the beginning for some reason. We can only get these things at level 1, so we have to have the mason just build us stuff. I like to build these stone braziers. I like sticking them. Yeah, aesthetically, I think they look nice in there. So we'll have our mason work on that. Once that's built, we can look at the other tools and stuff that we can do. Hey, and we can take a look at the shepherd. She's coming in, bringing 2 sheep for us to enjoy. I think in terms of abilities for you, not much. No, there's a couple of them. It's just speed, extra bonuses from animals, and more likely to get animals to show up. Well, that's nice. Okay. You're building stuff. Really, I just want you to be level 1. That's all I care about. Looks like you'll actually become level 1 here in a second. So we want to take a look at what the cook is. We want to take a look at... Oh, man. You would. You would do that to me, wouldn't you? Doesn't need to sell anything here. Alright. Oh, the mason finish up one more item, and then we'll look at other stuff. Here we go. So we see the shepherd harvesting wool. The wool is something you actually directly use with the weaver, which is really the only use, but at the same time, I only see the winter worker outfit requires wool. No other outfits require wool, so again, it's a situation where it's not super helpful. What would be nice, actually, is if you could take the wool and then have a recipe to make that into a bolt of cloth. I would say that would greatly increase the usefulness, because right now you can only use silkweed. And if you want to create a lot of the nice banners and all that stuff, you're going to be using a lot of silkweed, which takes a lot of time, where you set up like really large farms. Alright, so it looks like the mason stopped goofing around, which is nice for us. We're going to have her build the blacksmith hammer and the cook spoon, so we can take a look at that. And while we're at it, we'll build the maul. The maul is actually a strangely good item. I think it actually might be, I don't know if there's actually a downside to it, because it's going to be better than some of the blacksmith weapons, and it only requires 1 stone to make, versus all the blacksmith weapons. They are going to require a bunch of different metals, which we'll take a look at in a second. Granted, our mason stops dilly-dallying and actually gets to work instead of working on this building for like no reason. Alright, what are you going to build first? What will we look at first? Oh, the blacksmith hammer. Good. Okay. Let's find a hearthling. That will be our blacksmith. You, I think. At this point, the stats don't really matter. I could really assign anyone. You. You will be my blacksmith. So I'll assign him to be the blacksmith. He will run off and go do that blacksmith stuff. So you might be noticing, as we have been mining out this stuff, we've been getting tons of stone, but we've also been getting some of these ores too. And previously, we've had nothing that we could do with those ores. Now what we're going to do, now that we have the blacksmith, however, and we'll just place you down like that. Where are you going? Oi, stop it. Nah, whatever. What the blacksmith is going to do for us is you're going to be able to refine all those ores into metal bars, and we can use all those metal bars to create special items. It looks like the cook is also done, so we can take our farmer and we can upgrade you into the cook. Once you do that, we can take a look at the different cook items that you can make. And this is actually new to me, because I have not looked at the cook yet. Oh, we got a pot. Nah, that's cool. So he uses stone to make. I want to take a look at especially what you build. All right. So what we can see right here for the blacksmith is, on the most basic level, we'll be able to take wood and some amount of ores to make ingots. What we can do right here, actually, since they fixed the creation of this, this actually allows us a little bit more. I'll say, make me 1 of each. Previously, you had to be very, very careful about what what ores you were making, because as I alluded to previously, there were situations where if they didn't know what to build next, they would just freak out. They'd be like, well, I don't have enough gold ore, so I can't build anything. So you couldn't really just tell them, like, hey, build me a bunch of gold ore. You'd have to be very careful, and you'd have to look into your inventory and say, okay, I definitely have 2 gold ores, so I can make a gold bar. Alright, and then our last little bit here, we'll take a look at the cook, what they can do. It looks like right now we're actually kind of limited in what we can do. We can use carrots, turnips, and meat to make meat stews. You can make one of those. You can use carrots, turnips, and pumpkins to make a vegetable stew. Okay, so it looks like basically what this is you can make different food items using some of the different farmed items and some of the different stuff that you get from a trapper. So let's see what they build here. Looks like they're making the meat stew first. We'll just craft it up. Hey, we get our new stew. Not exactly sure what the benefit of having the stew is. Well, if I remember correctly, it was mentioned that a feature that they are going to add, I don't know if it's quite in yet, is that food will spoil, but cooked food lasts longer. I don't know if that's the only benefit. To be honest, if that's the only benefit of cooked food, you might be better off not making it, because you lose a farmer just to have a cook, and since there's only 2 recipes, there's no real practical application. Now what would be nice, and I don't know if this is actually a feature. Actually, we can test this really quickly. Okay, yay! Can we sell food? Oh, okay. So I can sell like this vegetable stew for 9 gold as opposed to like a basket for 3 gold. So well, it's about the same really, because I used excuse me. I used about 3 items to make the vegetable stew, and it makes it 9 gold. So really the cost is kind of negligible. You would get as much, if not more, money from selling the individual items by themselves. So it looks like that's about all the features that are really in the game at this moment. Like I mentioned before, kind of where we're at in the game, I kind of showed off all the features, so we get kind of an idea of what the different things are. Plus, it's the game, for me personally, I don't know if this is for everyone, but getting later into the game, it just starts grinding down to a halt. I don't know if that's some side effect of my personal computer. I don't know if maybe building this town hall building is just too large. I don't know what the issue is. So, what we're going to do for now, I'll say that this is going to be it for Stonehearth. Once we get some more major updates out, you know, if we get new classes or something like that, I'll do some update videos to give us a good idea. Once the game starts rolling into some of the later versions, I might try to pick up and do a playthrough like what we did before. Until then, however, this will be it for this series. Again, it's not the end of the series, just for now. So I hope you enjoyed this series. I hope you enjoyed the couple different episodes, and I hope you're excited for this game. You can check out stonehearth.net. It gives you a whole bunch of different information about this game. You can also look this up on Steam. It is in early access, so you can pick it up. And that's really about it. The community is really great. I will mention that already, as well as the developers. You can check out on stonehearth.net. They have a development blog, and they do update it very regularly. About once a week, they're adding new. The developers are creating new posts, talking about what they're working on. They do roll out different versions pretty quickly. It seems like instead of waiting and creating large, massive updates, they're more focusing on doing small updates that add new features. For instance, they added an update, that just added the cook, which was one new feature plus a bunch of bug fixes, but that was about a week after they added, crates, which was about a week after they added some other thing. So they're rolling out a bunch of different updates, different times. Like I said, not every update will do a video, but every couple of updates or so I'll give you kind of a rundown and say, hey, this is what's new, this is what's changed, this is what you can get excited for. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the future, stay tuned for more.